Hi,
How are
Theo.
you?
How are you? Yeah, great to see you always.
Great to see you as well.
Let's just jump right in, okay? What's the origin of Black History Month?
Right. It used to be not Black History Month, but Negro History Week. I
Mhm.
believe that was our brother Carter G. Woodson who made that a thing, but it used to just be around the President's Day, right? Because we got Abraham Lincoln's birthday is in February. And so, Abraham Lincoln at the time was still, even though his profile is high now, his profile was even higher back then as the great emancipator. And so they choose to put Negro History Week near Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and that is where it began. And then it expanded to Black History Month after the Civil Rights era.
Oh, interesting. You
Mhm.
know, I've always had this curious thought in my mind, but in relation to Black History Month, let's
Right.
talk about what does it mean to be in a Black historical family?
Right. Black Historical Family is a group of us who are the direct descendants of people who have made history. And there are those who are more prominent, like, there are those who are literally the descendants of Frederick Douglass. And I'm cool with the Bailey family out there because his birth last name was Bailey. That was the name of his plantation owner. And he changed it to Douglas after he ran away so that he couldn't be traced. But the Bailey family and I are still cool. The Tubmans are a thing. You know what I mean? The Shabazzes from Malcolm X's lineage. Um, you know, the King family, of course, and I'm from Tuskegee Airmen. So my grandfather was Theobald Wilson of the 99th Pursuit Squadron. And so, it's just that I grew up with some members of Frederick Douglass's family. That branch, their last name was Burke. And just being the grandson of a Tuskegee Airman, my grandpa was still alive, when I was a kid and up to a young man. So having, talking to my grandpa as he meets all these presidents, he was invited to sit front row at Barack Obama's inauguration. You know what I mean? And when you're in a Black historical family, like when they tell you a bit of history and like your family history is actually the Black history that they don't teach in schools. You know what I mean? So that's what it was like. So you accidentally get grounded in Black history, whether you want to or not, in a Black historical family.
Mm. You said so many powerful things, and of course, when you talk about the Tuskegee Airmen, my mind just focused on aviation because that's what I'm
Right,
involved with on the side. But you know,
right,
there's a movement, and that movement is to erase Black history. What are your
right.
thoughts on this?
I think they hustling backwards. I think they're going to fail because here's the problem: grabbing hold of Black history and trying to erase it today in 2026 doesn't mean what it would have meant 100 years ago,
Mhm.
because there's been a decoupling of institutional power and where the people get their knowledge from, right? So if you try to erase us from the Smithsonian, and if you try to take a monument down, it's like, bro, the book already been written. And even if you take the book off the shelves, the PDF is in somebody's phone.
Mhm.
And even if you like try to erase it from there, it's in our heads. We already seen the Red Tails movie. We've already seen, you know, um, Birth of a Nation about Nat Turner. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, what, you gonna take Denzel Washington's Oscar away from glory? Like, we know it now. And so it's already so deeply embedded that it says more about them than it does harm us. We just have to weather the storm, but it's actually sad because their response is okay. So, like, it came from the whole anti wokeism, and they don't want to hear about the suppression of Black voices. I was like, okay, so let me get it straight. You don't want to hear about the suppression of Black voices in the past, so
Mhm.
you suppress Black voices today?
Mhm.
Like, because you don't want to feel guilty, and so you do something to make you guilty? Like,
Mhm.
how is this working? It's sad.
I know.
And I just think that it would be so funny if it weren't so destructive in its attempt and intention.
Yes, absolutely. You know, because of her many
Mhm.
voices and the beautiful organization that we're both involved in and very dear to our heart, how do you see the parallels between Black history and Indigenous history in
Mhm.
America?
Oh, well, listen, they're so deeply coupled together. I mean, when you look at everything from the history of resistance between Black and Indigenous people, the Palmares, uh, uh, Colombo colony in Brazil, you look at my ancestry. On my mother's side, we are Seminole. We're from the Black Seminoles. The Seminole Rebellion was literally escaped enslaved Africans and Creek Indians blending together to become the Seminole in northern Florida,
Mhm,
right? The war on indigenous people is the war on the earth itself,
mhm,
uprooting African people from our native land came hand in hand with not only genocide here in the Americas, but the exploitation of the natural resources. They were looking for gold.
mhm,
They was looking for, all of the things that they thought they was going to get from India and couldn't quite get.
mhm,
And that came with the extractive model of both land, labor, and resources, all three of those. So the colonization
mhm,
and then the erasure is
mhm,
part of one apparatus. We like to see them as different things, but if you look at it, all those tentacles trace back to a very large racist kraken whose tentacles are everywhere and who now perceives itself as fighting for survival while denying survival, not only
mhm.
to indigenous people, not only to Black Americans here, but to the very earth itself that those indigenous people protected for centuries.
Yes. I get so caught up. I want to ask questions, but I'm listening, and so forgive me if I seem a little off. But
It's all
you
good.
you're just amazing. So why do you think the right wing right now is so committed to erasing? I'm going to say Black history, but really all minorities' issues,
Right.
history.
The right wing or conservative branch of American politics has always been anti-Black. And
Mhm,
they like to do this scapegoat thing where they say, well, the Democrats were where the Klan came from. It was the Democrats who were against emancipation. I was like, yeah, but the Democrats were the conservatives. They were the right wing of their time. The
mhm,
Republicans, when they came online, were often called the radical Republicans. They were the progressives of their time. So the conservative branch of American politics has always been anti-Black. And what has happened is the demographic shift. What has happened is the browning of America. What has happened is them now losing the zero sum game that their ancestors set them up to win, and the decrease in value of the token of whiteness.
mhm,
I like to say that, whiteness is a company. They didn't found it, but they're shareholders in it, right? So they didn't do what was necessary to clear the land of the indigenous people. And they didn't do personally. I never owned any slaves. I never killed any Native Americans. I know you didn't, brother. I know. But you're a shareholder in those who actually extracted the cotton and extracted the tax revenue from that cotton that made America the Saudi Arabia of textiles in the 1800s.
mhm,
And now they want to revive the value in that token. And the thing that stands against it is the narrative of Black people and Blackness itself. They are tired of feeling guilty, right? Because the things that had driven down the token, the thing that decreases value was white guilt, right?
mhm,
J.D. Vance said, well, now in America, you no longer have to apologize for being white anymore. The right wing is attached to the share and the stock in whiteness more than the left wing is, even though they both profit from it. But they're explicitly attached to it because quiet as it's kept, whether the right wing was called Democrats or Republicans, they always have been. And because of the demographic shift, they fighting for it harder now than ever.
Yeah, I'm sure that you saw or have heard of the State of the Union address last night.
Mm-hmm. I
And
heard about that.
in 1 minute that the word was spoken that DEI is abolished. It's no longer existing. What are your thoughts around this and this meaning in American society today?
Yeah, well, they're going to be in for a rude awakening when the pendulum swings back the other way. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, baby. You lied to yourself. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. What you're not going to do is get these white ladies that I work out to next to in the gym
Mhm.
to all of a sudden petition to kick me out anymore without the gym itself losing black revenue. Hold
Mhm.
up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. What you're not going to do is make these kids not like Michael Jordan and LeBron James no more and Steph Curry no more. That's what you're not going to do, right? You're
Mhm.
going to unintegrate these families at Thanksgiving now? These biracial families? Is that what you're going to do?
Mhm.
But you're going to, you know what I'm saying, like take BET away? The toothpaste is out of the tube. So we already included, always have been. And the fact is, there was this old rap from Jay-Z that says, "We don't believe you. You need more people." They need more people. They don't got the numbers. Too
Mhm.
many white people are not down with it. First and foremost, too many white people. Minnesota will show you that. You know what I'm saying? The
Mhm.
George Floyds will show you that.
Mhm.
Not enough white people. In fact, I would say these MAGA folks are loud, but they're few.
Mhm.
Are down with the fascist move that they trying to do, and they losing the political game. We saw with the election of Zoran Mamdani. We saw with these midterm. I mean, not these midterm, but these elections. They're all literally all the MAGA candidates lost.
Yeah.
They they scared about November.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
you in for a rude awakening. I just don't want to be in the way when y'all start crashing out when DEI roar back with a vengeance.
Yes. Yes. I love that. You know, the other area that has been hit is education.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about the erasing of our history as well as
Right.
the indigenous history.
Mm-hmm.
What is important to you to see in the future on how to get this educational component back and understanding Black history, indigenous history? What do we need to do?
I think that we need to go back to where we were on the path to doing. And I think that a great segue into education
Mhm.
is one of the articles that got these people all in their feelings, which was the 1619 Project.
Yes. Yes.
Because there's a direct bridge between that. The 1619 Project is a great place to start and reclaim education. See, all the receipts are there.
Mhm.
We've already done it. And like within the last decade, like within the last 5 years, like this is so whack to me. This is just uber whack because they got Prager University now.
Mhm.
And Prager University is their attempt at miseducation, right?
Mhm.
They like to say DEI is indoctrination. No, DEI is the reversal of the indoctrination that y'all have had y'all whole life. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I bring up 1619 Project as the route to do education properly because it is a narrative of America that decenters whiteness.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not to permanently, like, you know what I'm saying, make white people the bad guy, even though if y'all keep this up, that's what you're gonna be. But the fact is, decentering whiteness means that we're including everybody else who was left out. White people have been overly centered,
Mhm. Mhm.
overly uplifted, elevated, and venerated. And the 1619 Project, first of all, its academic rigor is so thorough. I
Yes.
mean, they so thorough. When they bring the receipts for the receipts in
Yep.
1619 Project, right?
Mhm.
And it's multiple races of authors. There's black authors, there's white authors in the 1619 Project, the actual articles that posted. And so uh, that level of academic rigor
Mhm.
is already there to rebut what the miseducation draws from, which is Prager University. And Prager University is bringing from what I didn't tell you, the 1776 Project.
Hmm.
Have you heard of the 1776 Project?
No, I haven't.
Man, listen, these people thought they was gonna clap back. They thought they was gonna clap back at 1619 Project. And I read both of them. I sat down and took about a week to read both of them thoroughly.
Mhm.
And the 1776 Project that is undergirding Prager University and all of these miseducation platforms that they're trying to indoctrinate children with, it's laughable
Mhm.
how far short they come up next to the academic rigor, detail, and citation of the 1619 Project. So if they try to go out into the world and espouse that, the answer don't already exist.
Yes.
And when the pendulum turns, we already have the receipts laid. I feel like it feels like it's taking forever,
Mm,
but it's a bad storm that when we look back ain't gonna have lasted that long.
yeah. The toothpaste is out the tube.
It's out the tube.
Okay, got it. That's gonna be my line now, but the toothpaste is
Right.
out the tube. Okay.
Toothpaste out the tube, man.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. How has Indigenous history been framed, and who has traditionally told those stories?
Oh, unfortunately, they say until the lions learn how to write, the hunter will tell the tale of the hunt.
Mhm,
Indigenous history is this rich tapestry of civilization before the civilizers came.
mm,
See what I'm saying?
yes.
Indigenous history, when I began to delve into it, it was because of some Chicano activists here that I was adjacent to as a slam poet. So Bobby Lefebvre, specifically our brother Ada Cruz, Alejandro Jimenez, El
Mhm,
Centro Su Teatro, all of these brothers and sisters of the Chicano persuasion really were grounded in Indigenous history and really taught me about for example, Iroquois Federation of Nations, who inspired Benjamin Franklin about the Constitution in the beginning because they already had one. It was a rich collection of nations that had lived peacefully, and their skirmishes and warfare were mild compared to what was going on in Europe. When you look at the Cahokia mound builders, when you look at the practices of the Lakota, all the way out here, when you look at um, the Native Americans that used to take care of the hills of Los Angeles.
mhm,
You see what I'm saying? And the practices that they had of controlled burning. You find that all the problems of America that it's currently facing today had answers within the civilizations
mhm,
that the colonizer decided to displace, destroy, and completely erase from their historical record and make it a footnote
mm.
of a spaghetti western.
Oh,
And
yeah.
not the fact that they are the latest civilization here in the Americas, not the first.
Mhm.
That's what I feel about Indigenous history. It is a map of civilization before the civilizers. And we're going to put that in hard quotes.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
Mhm.
So that to me is goes into this next question. What does responsible storytelling look like for both Black and Indigenous histories?
Well, responsible storytelling begins with, first of all, venerating those who was left out of the story.
Mhm.
Go ahead and find them stories,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Right. I mean, I think that, and it's also seeing through the division that has more recently been amplified by right wing outlets and by nativist movements within the Black community who are really like adjacent to MAGA in this weird way,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
There's been new things that have come up to divide Black folk and Indigenous folk.
Mhm.
That had I not been grounded in history and understood our shared struggle,
Mhm.
then I would have fallen for a lot of the divisive narratives, right? Because there is something to
Mhm.
say that, yes, there were Native American tribes who owned Black folks on the Trail of Tears. The five
Mhm.
civilized tribes
Mhm.
were all part and parcel to the enslavement of Black folks.
Mhm.
If you want to stop there, that sounds pretty bad.
Yes.
Until you realize the duress that these tribes were under from already being displaced and having treaties violated and having been economically decapitated and debased, for them to even make the enslavement of Black folks seem like a viable option to survive under the terms that the colonizer had pressed upon them after displacing them.
Mm.
If you're talking about the Black folks who were slaves to the Native Americans, for example, and I'm just using this as a microcosm so that
Yes.
we could tell these stories accurately together. If you're talking about the Black folks who were enslaved to the Native Americans on the Trail of Tears on their way to Oklahoma, you must ask why these nations were on the Trail of Tears in the first place.
Mm.
Who put them on that trail?
Exactly.
That
Mhm.
was the end product of centuries of economic destruction. And if you must tell the story about what like Black folks endured at their hands, as much as we venerate the Buffalo Soldiers, they were working hand in hand with the Union Army, who was there to displace and colonize Native Americans.
Mhm.
And then we would ask for that same grace. And I'm extending to the 5 civilized tribes. Understand that these were formerly enslaved people
Mhm.
who were looking for a way to survive under the terms and conditions set
Mhm.
by their former enslavers and the colonizers, and those who was by the barrel of a gun making the American experiment a thing in which both sides would be erased in eventually. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's how you complete that story.
Mhm.
Telling the truth about our division and putting it in the greater context of what unifies us.
Mm. Very powerful. You know, it's important for us to protect this history, and you kind of laid out a path, but how would you go about protecting this history and the storytelling? What would be some ideas that you have how we can move forward?
Shoot, I'll go right to that conservative banned book list. That's what I'll go to.
Exactly.
Come
Exactly.
on, Mr. Ron DeSantis, with your anti-CRT.
Yes.
What books did you take off the shelf for these kids? I'm gonna start right there.
Okay. That's a
I,
good.
I'm like, yo, whoever burning books ain't the good guy, bro.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, haven't we learned that already? Right?
Mhm.
Have we understood that those who burn books are the ones who are trying to cover their receipts? So I would start there, right? I would start at asking the displaced peoples where their stories are told, right?
Mm. Yes.
When I went to the Pine Ridge Reservation in the Lakota territories, man, I mean, hanging out with them elders, yo, having sweat lodge with the Native American people on their terms
Mhm.
and the sweat lodge that they built,
Mhm.
it made me just be like, yo, let's find some common ground here. You know what I mean? Who is your wisdom keeper?
Mhm.
Who was your storyteller? You know what I'm saying? Having kicked it with the Aglala elders, you know what I'm saying? Like going down and researching where my Seminole roots are as somebody who was of both Black and Indigenous heritage. It even
Absolutely.
showed up on the DNA test. A lot of people think they got Indian family, but they don't show up on the DNA test. Mine did.
I did.
Mine did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, right. So they live in my blood and in my baby's blood. So it's like, who are your wisdom keepers and storytellers? You bring me your griots. And we're
Mhm.
gonna come and put these books that they took off the shelf back on the shelf. That's where I would start.
Oh, that's a beautiful segue. I mean, not even segue, but just a beautiful start in the way that we can preserve this history. So, in this last few minutes, Theo, what is you have such a rich way of just speaking and being who you are. What
Thank
is
you.
it that we want to tell the audience today about Black history, Indigenous history, in your own words?
Oh man, that's one and the same right there. And it's connected to a resurrected earth too, right?
Yes.
Because when you look, I was just in Africa. I was just in Gambia, specifically in this town called Sintet.
Mhm.
Uh, kicking it with the Mandinka people. I am Mandinka on my mother's side.
Mm.
And we was hanging out with their griots, and the indigenous wisdom is so resilient in the fact that you look at the greatest weapons on earth that have ever been launched against human beings, and they still keep these traditions. They still keep these stories, right?
Mhm.
And indigenous people, Black and native here, and the African and native indigenous people in America are keeping the roots alive, the seeds alive for the new world. See, they're keeping the seeds alive for the new world. They literally show you how to be a human being
Mhm.
with nothing materially.
Mhm.
Man, let me tell you something. These are the people who show you that you don't need all these Western accoutrements to be happy. You need your community.
Yes.
You need your family. You
Mhm.
need a place to grow some food and a place to sing your songs and pray. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that's what I saw in the Gambia just now, right? And I saw these brothers and sisters resurrecting it on the res too. I'm seeing the fact that indigenous wisdom is like, first of all, it like energetically feminine, you know what I
Mm,
mean?
mhm,
In a way that Western lenses on femininity don't show.
mm,
Because they show femininity that the aspect of femininity that is sensual and easily sexualized. That's what they show in the West. But in indigenous cultures, there's a route to humanity through the grandma. There's a route to humanity through the relationship with the earth. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Mother Earth, right?
Yes.
That shows that it ain't gotta be an either or. There's a Gaic wisdom there. You feel me? And
Yes.
that to me make me think that that's what they was trying to erase the most, because you can't commodify that.
Mm,
Not easily. You might be able to put it in a book or two, but
mhm,
the actual wisdom itself be having the medicine in it that make you cured of the capitalist disease in the first place, and they don't want that.
mm,
And indigenous wisdom, and I've seen this in common, having visited both sides of the Atlantic's indigenous people, they both still exist. And that's a testament of resilience. And I'll say this one more thing. I'm going to say this one more thing.
okay.
Black history gets erased, not just because of what that history says about white people, but it's because it is a series of steps in guidebook um, recipes on how to resist tyranny effectively.
Mm,
You don't want people reading Black history when you got ice boots on the ground in Minneapolis. You don't want that.
yeah.
You don't want to have the stories told about how the Africans hid stories in the drum on the plantation to the point that they feel like they had to steal the drums and cut off their hands, right? How they went underground and how they hid songs for the Underground Railroad in quilts and in songs under a tyranny that these folks ain't got the muscle to flex now. They
Mhm,
don't want the resistance receipts in Black history or indigenous history or where they collide and combine. So
mhm.
they're trying to erase it because they're trying to repeat it. Anybody trying to erase some history, make you
Yeah.
know they're trying to make some new stuff. And it's just sad to me that we as indigenous folk, as African folk, have failed to civilize a great many of these civilizers.
Mhm,
Because
mm,
civilized people don't do none of this stuff, including the erasure of history.
absolutely. Absolutely. Theo, um, I was told to look in the camera, but I gotta still look at you. I thank you for your time,
Thank you.
your wisdom, your authenticity of being a true brother to the indigenous as well as to our community. And
Thank you.
I love you dearly.
Love you too, sis. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank,
your time with me.
thank you.
How many voices? Hello, bag.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you again for joining us at Her Many Voices Gaia Gossip. Remember, whatever you do for another, you do for yourself. For more information, head over to hermanyvoices.org to learn more about other programs and get involved. From all of us at Gaia Gossip and Her Many Voices Foundation, thank you, and until next time.